Hello, all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to my show. If you can't tell from my voice, I'm pretty sick, but don't worry, it's not COVID. In this episode of my show, I'm going to show you how to write and progress a full exercise routine. I've gotten a lot of feedback from students that they're not quite sure how this is done. Like they see that it's important and they need to do it, but they're not quite sure how to do it. I don't know how long this is going to take. This might be a really long video, so I apologize in advance, but I have some things prepared and I'll throw some templates in the shell for you. You can use or not use. So let's jump in. Okay, so I have a scenario here pulled up, and I guess you can pause it and read it if you want to, but otherwise I'm just going to jump in and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is review this for, I'm going to look for the things that she came up deficient in the postural assessment and the flexibility assessment, so that way I can target how I'm going to structure my warm-up and my cool-down. Okay, I can look at my findings here, and I can look here. All right. So I know that she's tight on her right side compared to her left side. She's got right knee valgus, which tells me that there's probably a weak glute medius. She's got decreased balance on her right leg, and she's got upper cross syndrome, it looks like, from hunching in front of the computer screen. So I already know that I'm going to start with, oh my goodness, what's going on? Let's do some myofascial release. Myofascial release. And we will target the upper cross will be traps. So lacrosse ball. And then the intensity will be mild discomfort. Duration, I'll do it for 90 seconds. 3 times 3. 3 times 30. And then I'll do some myofascial release of, let's say, pecs. So for those of you who don't know, upper cross syndrome is a condition where the upper traps and the cervical extensors are tightened, as are the pecs. And the deep neck flexors and the lower traps are weakened. So, okay, now I'm going to roll these two out because I need to inhibit them. If I want to lengthen something, I need to inhibit it. So I can inhibit it with this. 3 times 30. This is overkill. This person probably is not going to have this much time, but this is just an example. Now I'm going to go into my general warm-up. This is going to be, let's say, treadmill. Intensity, we'll say 50% increasing. Intensity 2. I know you're not really supposed to go by heart rate max. There are better techniques to use, but for the purposes of this activity, I'm just going to use heart rate max. I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. Seconds. All right, so now this is the bare minimum. You can achieve this in different ways. I think it's just easier to do it with some cardio, but I could see how if you were pressed for time, you might want to mix and match doing some dynamic stretches that would also get the heart rate up. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my dynamic stretches to prepare for the activity for the day, which will be some, we'll write that too. We're going to write a cardiovascular portion, and we're going to write a resistance training portion. So I have lots of things that I can work on here. So let's say I'm going to do 3 full body days per week. So I'm probably going to want to work some upper body and some lower body here. So maybe I start with some arm circles, which would be a dynamic warm-up of the upper extremity, and this would help with that upper cross syndrome. Arm circles would be dynamic, and I would do 12, a slight discomfort. 12, I don't need to put a duration there, I'll just put 12 reps. Each arm. All right. So now I'm addressing this. I might also want to do some deep walking lunges to help her with that situation on her leg. Let's see if I wanted to. I would address this decreased balance, probably not in the warm up, but in the routine itself. I'll get to that later. And let me go into some neuromotor. If I wanted to address the weak lower traps and I'm doing upper body, I might want to do some I's, Y's, and T's. So this is neural activation just to wake up those small muscles, so strengthen them a little bit. So this is going to be light intensity resistance training. We use endurance training parameters, so I'll do 2 sets of per side. And then maybe I want to address the weak glute medius here. I could do monster walk is where you put a light band around your knees and you do some hip abduction, walking hip abduction. Neural activation, so a light band. 2 sets of 10, each per direction. This is a nice little warm-up. So I'm addressing in this warm-up the upper cross syndrome. I'm addressing the decreased range of motion on the right side. Same thing here, decreased range of motion on the right side. Here with this neural activation, I'm not only preparing her for the exercise, but I'm strengthening those weak lower traps with the I's, Y's, and T's. And then for the monster walk, I'm activating the glute medius. So that's a good neuromotor warm-up. For the cool down, I'm going to do the opposite of the warm up. So it's 50, depending on how high the heart rate is at that time. Walking, maybe it would look like walking at 3.0 down to 2.5 miles per hour. Okay, and I'm going to do 5 minutes. And now here I'm going to put my static stretching. That's where I feel it fits best. So here I might do some, let's see, trap stretch. So ear to shoulder. So now I know I'm meeting ACSM guidelines because I'm accumulating 60 seconds on each side. So that's going to address the tight upper traps, this ear to shoulder stretch. Let's see, I can get a runner's lunge here. Yeah, that'll be, let's do actually toe touch. This would be a good stretch for the hamstring, hip flexion. So this will only be 2 by 30 because you're doing both at the same time. Let's see what else I got. I can do, I could do, let's see, a downward dog might be good. I can type. I'm just going to copy and paste all this stuff. This is also bilateral, so I only need to do it once. Let's choose one more. Okay, let's see. Downward dog, runner's lunge. Let's do couch stretch. No, let's do an upper body stretch. Let's see. Wall stretch. Doorway stretch for the pec. This can be bilateral, so again, I'll only do the one. So to summarize, I have selected the general cardiovascular cool down, so going from higher intensity down to resting-ish. I put all static stretching in here. I'm going to do ear to shoulder stretch, which is a stretch for the upper traps, and it addresses the upper cross syndrome. I'm going to do that 2 by 30 seconds on each side, so I can accumulate 60 seconds total for each stretch. I'm going to do a toe touch for the hamstrings. I do that bilaterally, so it's only 2 times 30 seconds, and I'm doing that for the hip flexion here to increase the hip flexion. For downward dog, I'm doing that static, slight discomfort. That's also bilateral. I'm doing that for for dorsiflexion. And doorway stretch, static, slight discomfort. Again, I can do that bilaterally, and I'm doing that to address the tight pecs and the upper cross syndrome. So I have used my warm-up and my cool-down to address the imbalances that were noted here. And so that's what you would do when you're working with your client. You're going to do your interview, you're going to do your flexibility assessment, your postural assessment, all of your assessments, and you're going to make decisions for your program based on the findings that you have in the person's needs. So if these are the things, assuming that this client wants to correct, then these are the things that we're going to work to correct. All right, so now we're done with this, and we're going to move on to the cardiovascular training routine. I have a little spreadsheet going already here. I'm going to demonstrate a couple different things for you. I feel like the cardiovascular training part is really the easiest part, and progression of cardiovascular training is pretty easy too. I think the idea here is that when you're progressing, you always have to keep in mind you don't have as many levers moving as you do with resistance training here. So what you have that you're working with is the modality, the time, and the type. Of course, you can work with frequency. Here, we're usually limited in the number of days per week the person can exercise. So they're not going to magically have 6 days per week. They're going to start with 3 days per week. Maybe they can make time for a 4th or a 5th, but they're not magically going to go from 3 days a week to 6 days per week. In the event that somebody does magically go from having 3 days a week to exercise to having 6 days a week per exercise, you do not make that jump. You would start with 5 days, and then you would progress to 4 days, and then you would progress over time to 5 days, and then you would progress over time to 6 days. So it's easy when we're in these constraints, but real life is not that, is a little bit more messy. All right, let's say we're going to do this first day, treadmill. I'm going to keep this really simple. She's new, she's a beginner. We're probably going to just keep her, she's warming up to 60% heart rate max, so I'm just going to put her at 60% heart rate max on the treadmill for, let's say, 15 minutes. Yeah, and she can, I'm just going to leave it here. I think that she's probably going to be capable of this. Then I'll put her on the bike, also at 60%. For 15 minutes. I should specify the time here. So first week we're just going to do 15 minutes at 60%. Oh my gosh, I really hate this. Hold on. Okay, that might be a little bit better. Actually, no, I hate that. Everybody go left. And then maybe this last day, I know a lot of you have been prescribing the rower, but I don't know how many of you have tried the rower. It's extremely technical, and for somebody who's new to exercise, it can be probably pretty overwhelming. So I might not choose to start somebody up on a rower. I might gradually introduce a rower and then gradually increase the time on the rower, but I wouldn't just like throw somebody onto a rower for 15 and 20 minutes when they first start exercising. So here, let's see, treadmill, bike, let's say elliptical. Mix it up. Maybe she likes it all. All right, so I'm keeping it really simple. Now, week 2, I'm going to decide to move one thing. So let's say I keep Monday as the treadmill day, Wednesday's the bike day. Friday's the elliptical day. Okay. So now here I'm either going to go up on my percentage or I'm going to go up on my time, but I'm probably not going to go up on both. I might make, let's say, a small increase, or I might just keep it the same. Let's just keep it the same. Maybe she is like, she was really huffing and puffing. I find that the gains in resistance training come a lot faster than the gains in cardio. You miss a week of cardio, you're regretting that. All right, let's just keep it here. Okay, now again, Monday's going to be her treadmill day, always. We'll keep Wednesday as the bike day, always. And I apologize that this is not more technical or exciting, but I'm just trying to keep it simple for demonstration purposes. So with this client who it does not appear that she needs to lose a ton of weight. Let's see. Looks like she's adrenaline junkie. She likes skiing trips. She likes group exercise. Doesn't really say much about her goals here, but let's just assume that she's just a regular person who wants to be fitter. If that's the case, if it's just a person who wants to be fitter, then what we will do is probably go up on the intensity so that we can eventually get this person going to moderate intensity interval training or going to intervals of some type, and then eventually working our way up into high intensity interval training. I'd rather, for somebody who's looking to lose weight, I might try to increase the time over increasing the intensity, because at that point I just need the person to burn calories. But let's say that this person is not incredible. This person is maybe average, not overweight or anything, just not fit. I might go up on the intensity instead. So let's try 63%. I mean, I actually wouldn't give a percent heart rate max. I would give a heart rate range. But let's just say, actually, let me pause this and pull up a heart rate calculator. So for those of you who've taken my class before, you've probably seen this already. She is, I'm just going to go back. This is just a little calculator I made. You can make this from a spreadsheet using, at the 220 minus your age. I know it's not flawless. It's not the best technique, but that's what we're using. That's what I'm using right now. All right. So if I was looking to get her to 65, let's see, let me just, there we go. So for 65% heart rate max, 60% heart rate max would be 99 to 109. And now I'm going to 107 to 107. That might be a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. So I might just take her up to 63%. Obviously, this would be a conversation. If it's easy, you could probably push it a little bit more. And then maybe here I just leave it like this. This makes me comfortable. And then I'll keep the time the same. But you guys get the idea. This might be a full cardio routine. And the reason I've chosen 15 minutes, obviously it's very achievable. It's not as much as we would like her to be doing, but perhaps her goals are related to her leg. And so we do want to spend more time on that warm up and cool down with this particular client, because this is what she's complaining of, that stiffness and the inactivity. So let's work to correct those things. Obviously, we'd have to work in tandem with her, whatever her setup is at work, to fix this, but that's outside the scope of this. All right, so we've got our warm up and we've got our cardiovascular training routine. And now we're going to move into our resistance training routine. I've already got this set up, and the reason I have this set up, I'll show you in a little bit, but I'm just going to run you through a few examples. I have just selected to do 6 exercises. I'm pretending like this person only has an hour, so they're going to spend a chunk of time on the warm-up and the cool-down to work on their flexibility and mobility goals. They're going to have a chunk of time to work on cardio, and I have actually... I put the resistance training routine goes before cardio. So you're supposed to do the resistance training before you do the cardio. That's why I have it ordered this way, though I'm not teaching it this way, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to do, she's doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which gives her 48 hours of rest in between resistance training sessions. In order to get the most, I'm going to do full body on all days. And I'm going to focus on uh, multi-joint movements and large muscle groups. And the reason is I get more bang for my buck. Do you think that this person is going to see the gains that they want doing 6 different tricep and bicep exercises? Or do you think they're going to get better gains doing alternating lower body, multi-joint lower body and multi-joint upper body exercises? I mean, come on. So that's what I want you to think about. Like, what is the best use of that person's time? Of course, there are wrong answers, but there are also very many right answers. And within right answers, there are answers that are better than others. So always think about how you can maximize your clients' time, their gains in your exercise selection. All right, so now that I'm getting ready to start selecting exercises, I'm going to go back into the module and pull up this resistance training program parameters by level of experience. And because she is a noob, I am going to start. Let's say she wants to get stronger. So I'm going to go with strength training parameters. All right, here we go. So strength training parameters for a novice. I'm going to be doing single and multi-joint movements. I'm going to be putting my large muscles before my small muscles. I'm going to do my multi-joint movements before my single joint movements. And I'm going to do my higher intensity movements before my lower intensity movements. I'm going to be working between 60 to 70% of 1 rep max. Sorry, I'm dying. 1 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. And my rest will be 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. So now I basically just take those. And I have outlined, actually, I think I have done this incorrectly, but let me just go in here. All right. I started this too low. Let me change this, 60. All right, so this is going to work better. So let's see. Oh, I went with a hypertrophy. Well, let's say I'm going with a strength. So I'm doing a strength mesocycle. All right, so this is what it looks like. This is going to be an 8-week cycle, and it's going to go like this. My microcycles are going to go up and then come down. I'm going to have like a quote-unquote deload, and then I'm going to work up again. So in these 8 weeks, I have decided I'm going to work all of my strength training parameters. And the thing that I'm going to vary here is going to be the intensity. This is one strategy that you can use to organize your routines. Now, I pulled up a little article on how to progress exercise. This is actually the same article that those parameters that I put in that document come from, and I wanted to bring your attention to this. It has been suggested that only small acute increases in training volumes should be imposed initially until adaptation has occurred. So now this one is talking specifically about volume. What we're talking about here in this spreadsheet that I'm showing you is this is actually overall intensity. So let me go back here. So that would mean here. So on week 1, I would do all 60. Oh my God, I tried to pause the recording and I could not find. I thought I was not recording. My life flashed before my eyes. Okay, so we're back. And I have put all of the intensities in here. So this is what it would look like. So I've got 2 by 8 in here. Why did I select 2 by 8? Well, if I come back here, that is like the absolute lowest. I could do 1 by 8. I could do 2 by 8. So one set is not different from 2 sets. One set is different from 2 sets. So you'll see more gains with 2 sets than you will with 1. Though with a beginner, for the first couple of weeks, you can really get away with 1 set. It's then a question of like, do you really want to accelerate or burn calories or whatever? And then 2 sets are not different from 3 sets. So it really doesn't make sense to do 3 sets. You should really, you'll do 3 sets to progress up to 4. But if you're at 2, the goal is to progress to 4 because there's no difference in doing 2 and 3 sets in terms of gains. Let's see. Let me bring it back here. Okay, I can close out of this bad boy. So I'm starting at 2 by 8 because that is at the lowest. Because I'm manipulating intensity, I'm not touching my reps. So I'm going up in intensity. Actually, what I can do here, because I'm going down, I can actually come up a little bit. And I want to see, actually, I'll keep it like this for now, and we'll see what happens when I go to calculate my load. All right, so this is a sample of, why does it keep doing this? Okay, so let me start picking exercises. I'm going to keep it simple here too. I'm probably just going to make it all look the same. So first we'll do, oh, she's a noob, maybe leg press. Then we'll do, so what I want to point out to you is the exercise order. Actually, I really should put this over here, but that's all right. These are all multi-joint movements. So if I sort out by multi-joint movements, the first thing I want to do, I also want to spread out by high intensity and low intensity. In my opinion, a chest press is more intense than a lat pull down. I don't know if that might be a personal thing. I just feel like maybe because these muscles are smaller, it just feels harder no matter what you're doing. So I've decided to put it here just because it feels more intense. Doing low box step ups. So alternating upper body and lower body, giving myself a little break. Going on to lat pull down, shoulder press machine. These are the smallest ones, and I'm ending with my abdominal work, some dead bugs. I'm going to put a minute of rest between my sets, right? So this says if I'm working strength, I'm putting 1 minute of rest between sets. So 60 seconds. But I don't really have an intensity on this one because it's just going to be body weight. Let's see, 2 by 8. So intensity. Now I'm going to take you to another page. And I've already put some formulas in here. But let me put these in here because I didn't write these earlier. Okay. Now, a lot of you have been asking me, how do you progress? Okay, so let's say she does, I don't know, 100 pounds on a leg press. Let's say on a machine, on a chest press machine, she does 100 pounds. Actually, let's move this down to 80 pounds because so here I'm just putting the weight that she's pushing. Oh, this is bothering me again. Okay, low step ups. Let's say I have body weight. Maybe just do 10-pound weights in each hand. 5-pound weights in each hand, which would be 10 pounds. 5-pound weights in each hand. Lat pull down. Let's say she's doing. And dead bugs, we'll kind of just leave that one out there because you're not really pushing any weight. So in terms of volume, this is the total volume. So the volume is the sets times the reps times the load. So that's the volume. She did 2,800 here. So now we're going to move on to the next day. Let's just pretend I'm keeping it the same all week. I could write different ones. Let me just write different ones real quick. Just for the sake of it. But so I kept it really simple. I don't need to keep these parameters here, but I'm just going to keep them for the sake of it. You can play around with these. They're not really loaded, and you can work abs every day. All right, so so this is what a week might look like where I'm doing full body all the time. Full body multi-joint. I think the only time I didn't do one was here, and that's just because shoulders, I'm limited in what I can do. And I don't want to progress her too quickly. Let's say I'm a couple weeks in and I'm looking to progress. Some ways I could progress here, I've got her in her leg press. A leg press is easy because it's actually a squat is a very technical maneuver, and you're going to have to work up to it. And you can work up to it by starting with a leg press, and you can teach box squat and then work your way to a squat. That's why I have Smith machine here. Smith machine is really great because it stays on a track and you don't have to have really great mechanics because the Smith machine will force you. So this is a way that we can work in a progression to a squat. I've got some deadlifts in here. Again, this is more technical, so you have to do some teaching also. But overall, these are simple because I've stuck with machines for the most part. Machines are the easiest type of progression. You can't really mess up. You just gotta load it right. The next way to progress up would be to go from a machine to a cable, or from a machine to a barbell. So for example, you would go from a leg press to maybe a Smith machine to maybe a barbell box squat. So you've got the barbell on your back, but you're only squatting onto a box, and then eventually progress to a full squat. For a chest press, you might start on the chest press machine, then progress to a barbell, and then from a barbell, you can progress to dumbbells. Earlier, we noted that this client needs, let's see, she's got poor balance on one leg. So, what we can eventually incorporate is single leg exercises. I've not got those in here, but maybe she gets really good at squats and we can start incorporating some single leg squats. Lunges kind of work on that. I've got her on a Smith machine lunge, but we can eventually work on other types of lunges. So Smith's machine is very stable, but we can eventually move her to a weight where she's and also holding on to something. Then she lets go of that thing and she's got weights in each hand. She's working her balance. Maybe she closes her eyes eventually. And then we can also work in some single leg work in terms of like she's doing some bicep curls on one leg, or she's doing some tricep push downs on one leg, and that will also improve her balance. The next thing I want to point your attention to is this progression. All right, so I'm just going to take these, I'm going to copy them so that I can show you. And this is just an exercise in demonstrating how you would progress by volume. All right, so everything else stays the same. And I've only done this for one day, but you could imagine you could do it by the week because that's how you're supposed to do it by the week. All right, so I've got my loads in here. Everything is set. So I have selected, so I'm just going to remind myself, 60%, 63%, 66%, and then back down to 60. All right. Okay, well, at any rate, these would be the same exercises. So I'm just going to show you. I'm just taking the Monday exercises and putting them in here. And I'm going to calculate the total volume. So that's what I'm looking at here, the total volume. Let me just put a box on this. I don't know if this is a good idea, but we're going to do it anyway. All right, so we're going to increase by just a few pounds. So I don't have the exact numbers. You'd be going by percent 1 rep max. So I don't have these set by percent 1 rep max. The numbers I made up. I'd have to go back. Actually, let me pause. Okay, so I calculated the quote-unquote 1 rep maxes for the weights that I selected. Of course, you would never do that. You would always start with the 1 rep maxes, but I was just trying to do an exercise and it blew up in my face. But at any rate, 2 times 8 times 80 is 1,280 pounds. That is the total volume on the leg press machine. 2 times 8 times 30 is 480, which is the total volume on the chest press, and so on and so on. Now I add all of these together, and the total volume of the weight that I have lifted is 2,800 pounds for that Monday. All right, so I'm doing this by day, but normally when you periodize, you do this volume, you calculate the volume by week. Now, if you remember what we were talking about earlier, I showed you this, the original article, 2.5 to 5%. Is the increase in the volume over time. Okay, so this is week 1, or sorry, we'll pretend it's week 1, but it's really just Monday 1. I've got 2,800 pounds. Now I increased to 63% of 1 rep max. Right, so I started with 60% of 1 rep max. And I decided to go up to 63% 1 rep max the next week. So now my total volume that I lifted when I increased my weights by a small amount was 2,940. And this is a 5% increase week over week with just going from 60% to 63%. So this is a lot. 5 is a lot. So maybe even just going to 61 or 62% might be enough for this person. Oh, undo. What have I done? Okay, so we're talking small weights here, so any increases are going to be huge. All right, and then the next week, what I did was increase to 66% of 1 rep max. And this load was a 3,080, 4.76% increase. and then I deload back down 10% to my original. Then when I start again, I'm going to start at 63%, and I'm going to repeat this. This may be, these numbers that I selected may be a little bit aggressive, so I might have been better off going with 62, 64, 66, something like that. Okay, let me see, where am I with? Okay. Oh, God, what am I doing? But this gives you an idea of how you might periodize by volume. All right, so you can select a percentage, an approximate percentage that you want to increase by week, which is what I've done here. So within my, I'm staying within my strength parameters because I've chosen strength for this person, even though we don't have enough information, but you get the idea. So the lowest would be 60, going up, deloading, and then starting, but at a higher percentage than where I originally started. So building a base, going up, and then coming back down. And now after this 8-week strength cycle, maybe I want to move on to something else. Maybe I want to move on to an endurance cycle. I hope this gives you a better idea of how that periodization goes. And really, you don't start with a mesocycle, you start with the macro cycle. You look at the chunk of time that you have, and then you make your mesocycles from there, and then each week is a microcycle. Let's see. So if I come back here, this is what my resistance training routine might look like. I mean, I have to complete filling it out, but this is what 4 weeks might look like. After these 4 weeks, then maybe I feel like this person may or may not be, well, I think I did 6 or 8, 6 weeks here. Maybe I want to move on to that this person is now average after 6 or 8 weeks. I personally would probably keep somebody in these beginner phases for at least 6 weeks, then move on to a cycle of starting to push. If you do not vary your training technique, you're going to get stale. You're going to get stagnant. You're not going to see gains. That's why it's important to periodize. That's why it's important to plan out cycles. So great. You're done with your strength cycle. I think a lot of people tend to go back and forth between strength and hypertrophy because they're kind of complementary. You can build more muscle mass, which allows you to be then stronger. And then you get stronger, and then you can build more muscle mass, and vice versa. With power a lot, you'll see power cycled with strength and hypertrophy because you need both of those to be powerful. Endurance, you're going to use these more for weight loss. I think that's what I have here. But even if you're working in endurance, you're still going to need to mix it up and push it in hypertrophy. For those of you who want to get like quote unquote toned, you might want to mix hypertrophy and endurance, or strength, hypertrophy, and endurance. All right, so I feel like this has been a very long tutorial. Now I have to edit this whole entire freaking video. I hope that this was helpful for you. I will put these templates up if you want to use them. I mean, it's up to you. I just wonder if like you're going to be looking at it and be like, oh, I wish I could have used that template. So I'll just clear this out and put it in there for you to use if you want to. So, well, good luck out there.